All right, the Houston Texans have a new mock draft out. ESPN Matt Miller came out with one, and we're going to sit here and we're going to give you a little bit of an evaluation on each of the players that were taken in this mock draft. And then you are going to answer the question, do you love it? Do you hate it? What would you change about it? So there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about. Hey, before we get into that, if you're new to this channel, we love the NFL and we love reporting on teams that the national media ignores. We get it. For years, we've been stuck here in Detroit. We have another channel, Sports Talk Detroit. It's all about the Lions. But we were like, man, oh man, like, there's more because we just are huge NFL fans. You see the Nico Collins signed jersey there. We got the Texans helmet over here. But anyways, we started that. No Cowboys on this channel. So if you have yet to subscribe and you've been watching a while, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button to get more of these videos directly to you. And we would love to have you and have you as this being your number one place for Texans content. All right, so speaking of content, let's talk about it. The 7-round mock draft, and it starts off with round 2, pick 42, and this has been a popular one if he makes it there. Braden Fisk, defensive tackle out of Florida State. All right, so a couple things about Braden Fisk that I want to talk to you about that I find to be very, very interesting, at the very least. For starters, he is a freak athlete. All right. So this is a guy, he's not younger. All right. But I believe he played at Western and for 4 years and then became a grad transfer over at Florida State for his final year. So now all of a sudden everybody's like, oh yeah, now we know who he is. All right. He didn't come out of the gates firing that hot at Florida State, but you could tell he adjusted to the higher level of play as the season went on. So there's kind of been that adjustment period already. Now, where do you see him as elite? His speed and his explosion. So in other words, he's just an elite athlete. He ranks 14 out of 1,620 defensive tackles ever rated on the RAS scale. Like, that's insanity to me. That's absolutely nuts, this guy's athleticism. He's only 292, but I think what you're hoping out of a guy like this with his explosion, with his speed, with his power and all that kind of stuff, I think what you're hoping is that eventually you're going to get like, hey, maybe an Aaron Donald type or maybe something similar to that. On the field, his best year was not last year, but the year before when he was at Western. That was his best year. All right, but this year wasn't bad either. His pass rush win rate was in the top 75%. Same with his true set pass rush win rate. His pass rush grade was good. His run defense grade was actually pretty good too. So he became a pretty good all-around player, which is kind of nice to hear. All right, we can't spend all the time on Braden Fisk. The next pick in this was safety out of Minnesota, Tyler Newson. All right. Now, the Texans, yeah, they could use a safety. I think they could use a corner more. I would like to see them take a corner if there's one available with the 42nd pick or this pick. But safety is not a bad thing either. And Newson is one of the guys who kind of has all the makings of a successful player. He has a high football IQ. He comes out of a place that has produced very good safeties in the past in Minnesota. All right. And so you have to look at that. He waited his turn. He played behind Antoine Winfield Jr. And one thing we know about football is when you play behind greatness, a lot of times a little bit of that gets rubbed off on you. And that might be something that happens with him. Last year, he was phenomenal. He was one of the, if not the best safety in college football, and he did really, really well. I mean, he did really, really well, and he lined up in the box a lot. He lined up deep most, but he even lined up in the slot every once in a while, which is kind of crazy. End up having a lot of tackles, a lot of snaps where he had some pass rushes. Like, he did a little bit of everything. And he's a guy who's not a horrible athlete. Honestly, it's not a horrible athlete. He's got okay size, but for a guy taken in the second round, like, I have absolutely no problems with this. I don't have any problems with this for him. All right, the next guy that we are looking at is a center out of Arkansas. And I think we know that, all right, what can we do with the interior of this offensive line? Maybe allow one of these guards to kick back out, Howard, something like that, to tackle. I don't know, because it seems like we have a guard that's playing tackle that is better at guard. And Juice Scruggs had kind of a unique season. There's some injury stuff and coming out of Penn State. And the question is, could you do better there, or could you move either him or another player depending on what happens? So Bo Limmer out of Arkansas may be one of those guys. Now, he's a guy that did not have his best year last year. And one thing that you see out of him that you don't see out of the centers going in round 1 and round 2 is that he actually allowed some sacks. He allowed 3 this year, 4 the year before, and only 1 the year before that. Similar amount of snaps on every single one of those seasons. So he played a lot. He was a center this year. It was his lowest graded PFF year. The 2 years before that, he played guard. In fact, last year he was an 82.2 at guard and played really, really well. So it's not just a center type of idea. The other thing that you get out of him is that he's an elite athlete in that position. 39 reps on the bench. Are you kidding me right now? That is one of the best to ever test. That is the 99th percentile as far as just pure strength on the bench press. All right, and this is coming from a guy who's only 302 pounds. Who cares? How strong is this human, right? He's 6'4", 302. He has elite explosion. He has elite agility, all right? And he has really good speed. This is not a scheme that uses a lot of pulls and things like that. But man, oh man, would this guy be good at it. He would also, with that strength, be good at setting in a zone blocking scheme as well. This might be my favorite pick so far by this team. All right, now we're going to get moving a little faster when we go into the next ones. Malik Washington and Cade Stover. We'll spend time on those two guys, and then I'll just kind of mention the guys at the back end. Malik Washington's interesting for me. He's a guy that has faded. I think in other drafts he wouldn't have faded necessarily, but there's so much wide receiver talent that he has faded because he doesn't have the NFL measurables. All right, but I want you to look at this. All right, he played for Virginia, which had no offense. All right, and it says he had a crazy clip, 111 catches on 138 targets. That's insanity. That's nuts. Like, nobody gets that. He's only 5'8". I understand that. They talk about how he would rotate with Tank Dell and Mechie. You'd put Dell a little more on the outside. You'd see much less of Mechie, I think. I think Washington is a more ready-to-go Mechie, to be honest with you, as weird as that sounds. He's not like this ridiculous burner athlete. He's not a bad athlete in any way, shape, or form. All right, when you look at him, here's what you're looking at a guy that's only 5'8". His RAS score is low, but it wouldn't be. He has an elite explosion grade. I don't know why he did an agility test. Based on his tape, he has agility. All right, but he has good speed at that short. When you're that short, it's hard to have good long speed. What I was surprised by was that he was a little slow in the intermediate. His height and his weight are very poor. We understand that. His job would be out of the slot, just a lot of different things like that. And then the next one was a very interesting one to me, and that is Cade Stover. I switched over to him. When I watched Cade Stover at Ohio State, and I watched quite a bit of Ohio State, and, being a Big Ten guy myself, Michigan, by the way, that doesn't mean I went to Michigan. I'm just a Michigan fan. Cade Stover always seemed like a big tight end that could hurt you, but he didn't seem like a ridiculous athletic tight end. I had no idea, if you look over here, what kind of speed he had. For him to test at those numbers is remarkable to me. To do it at those numbers. Now, he lost a little weight. I don't think his playing weight's going to be 247. I think he's going to end in the 250s. But he would be a perfect tight end to select to kind of learn under Dalton Schultz, I think they're very similar players, or they could be very similar NFL players. This is a perfect pick. I really like this one. So then the question is, what's next? Smith-Wade, cornerback out of Washington State. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't know a ton about him. He's a scheme fit. And then another tight end, Brevin Spann-Ford, all that kind of stuff. And then finally another wide receiver. I think the questions I have on this mock draft, if I were to say what I didn't like about it, is where's the corner? I know we don't always draft for need, and sometimes it just doesn't fall to you. But the second corner spot is kind of up for grabs. But here's what I will also say about that. There's been a lot of corners that are, who are they for the San Francisco 49ers over the last few years that under D'Amico Ryans have absolutely flourished. They have absolutely flourished in that defensive system. So I can understand a little bit of what they might be thinking there. Okay, maybe we have our shutdown in Stingley, and we'll just figure it out on the other side and figure out who ends up on top. So there you go. That's kind of my thought process for what's going on here. And it's 1 month away, under a month away from the NFL draft. So we got to start doing some mock drafts. All right. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the next one.